The house was too quiet. I stood on the porch of a modest suburban home, tool bag in hand, listening to the sound of nothing. Just the hum of wind in the trees and a distant lawnmower. The place didn't scream broken, but the door handle in my work order said otherwise. I knocked. After a few seconds the door cracked open and there he was, Ethan. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Lean frame, tousled brown hair, white t-shirt that clung just enough to his chest to make me wonder if he answered the door like that on purpose. "You're here for the door, right?" he asked, stepping aside. "Yeah. Loose handle, maybe strip screws. Shouldn't take long." "Good," he said with a quick smile. "It's been annoying." The way he looked at me lingered. Not direct. Not inappropriate. But curious. As if trying to figure me out in one glance. I stepped inside. His house was clean, tastefully decorated, and cold, not in temperature, but in energy. No music. No signs of recent life. The kind of place where silence echoes off walls and makes you second-guess your own breathing. "Where's the door?" He motioned to the hallway. "Down there. Bedroom." I followed. The click of my boots against the hardwood was the only sound. We reached the door, master bedroom of course. The handle was hanging slightly off, a tiny crack running down the frame. "You do this yourself?" I asked, kneeling to inspect it. Ethan leaned against the opposite wall, arms crossed. I slammed it. "Not on purpose. Rough day." He shrugged, looking at the floor. "Something like that." I started working. Silence stretched between us until he broke it. "You always work alone?" "Usually," I said. "Quieter that way." He nodded slowly. "My husband works a lot. He's rarely home." There it was, casually dropped but heavy. "Married." I glanced at his ring finger. "No band." That struck me. Noted but not judged. "Must get lonely," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Sometimes," Ethan said softly. "Sometimes it's nice. But sometimes it's not." I tightened a screw. My fingers brushed the wood. My mind wandered. There was something in his voice. Brittle, raw. "I don't usually talk to strangers," he said suddenly. "Sorry if I'm saying too much. You called me to fix a door. Not judge your marriage." That got a smile from him. Small, but real. "I didn't catch your name," he said. "Mark." "Well, Mark, thanks for coming on short notice." "No problem. I like jobs like this. Simple. Clear purpose." Ethan tilted his head. "And people don't talk back." "Exactly." He chuckled. "Sometimes I wish I had that option." I kept working, but the air between us thickened. Something unspoken sat just beneath the surface, neither of us naming it, both aware of it. "You live around here?" he asked. 15 minutes out. South Ridge." "Nice area," he said. "My husband and I looked at places there before settling here." He liked the space. I liked the idea of neighbors. "You got either?" He paused. "He travels. I stay." I stood, brushing dust off my knees. "Handle's fixed. Door won't give you trouble unless you try to take it off the hinges next time." He stepped forward, inspecting it, standing a little too close, but not crossing any lines. "Good with your hands," he said. His voice was casual, but the weight of it landed different. I looked at him. The moment held. "I try," I said. My voice came out lower than I expected. He met my gaze, then glanced away quickly. "You do this full-time? Handyman work?" "Yeah." "Fix things, paint things. Replace the stuff people don't know how to live without until it breaks." "You fix marriages too?" That stopped me. Not because it was funny, but because it wasn't. "I don't do miracles," I said. He gave a breathy laugh. "Shame." I packed up my bag, my fingers working faster than my thoughts. I needed to leave, but part of me didn't want to. That part was dangerous. "Need me to look at anything else while I'm here?" I asked. Stupid question. Obvious, but I couldn't help it. Ethan hesitated, then said, "There's a cabinet door that sticks. In the kitchen. If you have time." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. I followed him into the kitchen. He opened the cabinet and pointed. This one. It catches on the edge. I knelt down again, working the hinges. He stood behind me, too close again. I could feel the warmth of his body at my back, like he was trying not to touch me but couldn't help getting near. You smell like sawdust, he said quietly. You smell like trouble, I muttered without thinking. He laughed, a real laugh this time. That obvious? Only if you're trying. He didn't respond. I finished adjusting the hinge and stood up. We faced each other again. That pull, unspoken, magnetic, sat thick in the air between us. I broke the tension. Cabinet's fine now. Thanks, he said. But he didn't move. Neither did I. Listen, he added, I might have a few other things around the house that could use attention. If you're available. His tone was careful. His meaning wasn't. I'll give you my number, I said. He reached for his phone and our fingers touched. Just a second longer than necessary. He didn't flinch. Neither did I. When I left, he walked me to the door. Take care, Mark, he said, voice soft. You too, Ethan. I stepped out into the sunlight, the door closing quietly behind me. But the crack I felt forming, that wasn't in the wood. 3 days later, Ethan texted. He didn't wait for me to reply before following up with his address and a time. I didn't pretend to be confused. I just showed up. The house looked the same, but something felt different. The air was warmer. The silence heavier. He opened the door before I knocked. This time, Ethan was barefoot. He wore dark lounge pants and a soft, gray shirt that clung like it missed his skin. His hair was messy, or maybe more natural. Either way, he looked like he hadn't gotten ready for a visitor, and that made it worse. Cabinet's worse now, he said, stepping back to let me in. Might need replacing. Let me take a look, I said, setting my tool bag down without breaking eye contact. He watched me like he'd been waiting for this moment, like this wasn't about hinges or wood. I knelt again at the kitchen cabinet, the same one, and fiddled with the screws. It didn't need fixing. Not really. It never did. You hungry? Ethan asked. I'm good. I made coffee. Sure. He poured 2 cups. No sugar, no cream. Just heat and caffeine. I stood to take it and our fingers brushed again. Still not accidental. So, he said, sipping, did you know you were my first? I raised a brow. First what? First repair guy who doesn't smell like cigarettes or look like he's about to murder me. High praise. I'm serious. He grinned. You're different. I leaned against the counter. You always this forward? Only when I'm bored. Or brave. I'm not sure which this is. I looked around. Where's Daniel? Ethan's face shifted. Chicago. Work. He'll be gone for a week. Convenient. Painfully, he replied. The nights are long when you sleep next to cold air and unread texts. His words hung in the kitchen like humidity. I didn't know if he wanted pity or understanding, but I felt something stir. It wasn't just lust. It was recognition. He always been like that? I asked. Ethan shook his head. No. He used to be warm, loud, stupid in love. Then the promotions came. Travel, corporate dinners, business class. Now it's all schedules and silence. You talk to him about it? I try. He listens with one ear and a clock in the other. I watched Ethan for a moment. There was no lie in his voice. Just exhaustion, the kind that builds not from one bad day, but from hundreds of empty ones stacked together. He broke the silence. I'm not trying to make excuses. I didn't ask for any. But you didn't run, he added. Do you want me to? He met my eyes. There was no hesitation. No. That was the first real moment. Not sexual, but intimate. Raw. I felt the tension in my jaw, the tightness in my chest. This wasn't about cheating anymore. It was about being seen. Ethan stepped closer. Slowly. Testing the line. The air shifted. I felt the electricity, the pull. like standing too close to a flame. "I'm not broken," he whispered. "But I might be cracked. I fix cracked things." "That's the problem," he said, voice trembling just enough to betray him. "I don't know if I want to be fixed." I set the coffee down. My hand brushed his again. This time, neither of us moved away. "I shouldn't be doing this," he muttered. "Then don't. Tell me to stop." I didn't. Because I couldn't. Because the look in his eyes was the same one I'd seen in the mirror more than once. Tired of being untouched, unheard, needed only in theory. He leaned in. Just close enough that I could feel his breath. Still no contact. Still that gap, that last inch that could ruin everything. "Tell me to stop," he whispered again, almost begging. But I stepped in instead. Closed the space. Let my forehead rest against his. No kiss. No dramatic rush. Just contact. And it was louder than any confession. Ethan's hands brushed my chest. Hesitant. Like touching something sacred or dangerous. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said. "Neither do I. But you're here." "I am." He stayed there, forehead against mine, for another moment. Then pulled back, just slightly. Enough to breathe again. "I didn't call you just for the cabinet," he admitted. "I figured. You're not just some guy with a toolbox. And you're not just someone's husband." His eyes flickered. "That's the part that scares me." We stood in silence. The tension between us now a living thing, pacing the room. "I've got other things that need work," Ethan said finally. "Little things." "Call me," I said. "You know where to find me." He followed me to the door again, but this time he didn't say goodbye. Just watched me leave. His fingers hovered on the frame, like he might call me back, but didn't. As I stepped onto the porch, I realized I hadn't fixed a damn thing in that house. But something had definitely shifted. The next time I came, Ethan didn't bother with the pretense of a broken cabinet. There was no work order. No text asking for help. Just a message. "You said I could call you. I need you." That was enough. When he opened the door, he looked different, and not because of what he wore, which was nothing more than black shorts and a loose tank top. It was in the way he carried himself. Open. Wounded. Wanting. "Mark," he said. Just my name. Like it held 1,000 things he couldn't say out loud. I stepped in. He didn't move back. The air between us snapped with tension. I heard the door click shut behind me, but it wasn't the sound of wood meeting frame, it was the sound of boundaries dissolving. We stood in the entryway, not speaking. The space was quiet, but it screamed. "I don't know if I can do this," Ethan whispered. "Then tell me to leave." He didn't. Instead, he reached for me. Tentatively, like I might disappear if he touched me too fast. His fingers landed on my chest, over my shirt, and stayed there. His palm trembled. "This feels like a mistake," he said. "Maybe it is," I replied. "But it's ours to make." His eyes met mine, searching for permission, maybe even salvation. I didn't offer either, just honesty. "I've never done this before," he said. "Been with a guy?" He shook his head. "No. Cheated. Not like this." That word hung heavy. Real. Ugly. True. It didn't scare me. I placed my hand over his. "Then let's stop now." But he didn't move. Didn't pull away. "I don't want to," he said. That was the moment. Not the kiss. Not the moan. Not the sex that followed. That was the moment Ethan crossed the line, and let himself want. We kissed like we were starving. He pressed into me, lips urgent, breath ragged. His hands ran along my shoulders, my jaw, my back, like he'd been dying to touch someone who actually touched him back. I lifted him gently against the hallway wall, and he gasped, not in pain, but surprise. His legs grazed mine, his hands curled in my shirt, and he kissed me deeper. Desperately. I wasn't rough. I wasn't fast. I let him guide the pace, and he did, with quiet hunger. He tasted like coffee and hesitation. And I drank both down. When I ran my hands under his shirt, he didn't flinch. When I lifted it off, he didn't resist. His skin was warm, alive with need, and I kissed every inch I could reach. There was no bedroom, no soft landing, just a hallway, a wall, a couch nearby, and too much time spent waiting. Clothes scattered. Words vanished. Sounds filled the gaps where vows used to live. His body told the truth his mouth had hidden for months. I want. I miss. I ache. I gave him everything he asked for, and everything Daniel never noticed was gone. Afterward, we sat on the floor, legs tangled, chest to chest, both catching our breath. Ethan stared past me, into the air, like he was watching the last year of his life dissolve into this one moment. "I don't know what this means," he said. "Neither do I. I shouldn't feel good about it. Do you?" He hesitated. "Yes. God, yes." We stayed there in silence, sweat drying on our skin, guilt crawling just beneath the surface. He looked at me, and there was something like fear in his eyes. "I don't want to hurt him," Ethan said. "You already did. That landed hard. But I didn't say it to wound. I said it because the truth was all we had left." He nodded slowly. "He'll never know." I didn't ask if that was a promise or a threat. I didn't ask if this was a one-time thing. Because neither of us knew, and pretending otherwise felt like a lie bigger than what we'd already done. "You don't have to explain it," I said. "Not to me. But I want to." "Why?" "Because I think I want this to mean something." I studied him. Ethan, the married man. The lonely man. The man who kissed me like he'd been holding his breath for years. I wanted to believe it could mean something. But I also knew better. "You called me to fix something," I said softly. "And I broke something else instead." He leaned into me, resting his forehead against mine. "The same way we started." "No," he whispered. "You didn't break anything. You just showed me what wasn't working." That cut deeper than I expected. He walked me to the door, same as always, but this time, when I stepped onto the porch, he didn't stay behind. He followed me out, barefoot on concrete, eyes unreadable. "Will I see you again?" he asked. I hesitated. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you want more than just something to fix." Ethan didn't answer. He just stood there, letting the sunlight hit his bare chest and the wind dry the sweat off his collarbone. As I walked down the steps, I didn't look back. But I knew he was still watching. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of silence, half-written texts, deleted drafts, restless nights, and dreams I couldn't admit even to myself. I didn't hear from Ethan. Not a word. And I didn't reach out either. Whatever happened between us, whatever we let happen, felt like a match lit in a dry forest. Beautiful in the moment. Dangerous in the aftermath. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. About how he touched me like he'd been starved of affection. About how his breath caught when I kissed his neck. About how he trembled afterward, not from regret, but from relief. And about the words he didn't say. Then came the message. "Daniel's back. Things are quiet. I need to talk. You free?" Just like before, no explanation. But I didn't ask for one. I was already grabbing my keys. When I pulled up, the porch light was off. The blinds were drawn. The front door creaked open before I could knock. Ethan stood there. No smile. No clever greeting. Just a look in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Something between guilt and exhaustion. "Come in," he said. The house was darker than usual, lit only by a dim kitchen lamp. The place felt colder now. Even the air seemed to carry more weight. "Daniel's asleep," he said, voice low. "In the other room." I stood still. "You sure this is a good idea?" He nodded. "No. But it's the only one I have." He poured 2 glasses of wine. No pretense. No coffee this time. He handed me one and leaned against the counter, staring at the red liquid like it could answer everything. "We haven't touched in months," he said. "Not even accidentally." I said nothing. Just listened. "He came home and tried," Ethan continued. "Tried to be the man he used to be. Took me out. Talked more. Even cooked. But it all felt like a cover-up. Because he knows? I asked. Ethan's jaw clenched. He suspects. But he doesn't ask. And I don't confess. Why not? Because if I do, everything ends. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. We sat on the couch, far apart at first, then closer, then too close to lie about it. I thought sleeping with you would give me clarity, Ethan whispered. It didn't. What did it give you? Escape. Connection. A reminder I still feel. And now I hate that I need it again. I watched him. His hands twisted the wine glass. His foot tapped the floor. He couldn't sit still, because his mind wasn't still. You regret it? I asked. He looked at me, finally. No. That's the worst part. I don't. Silence followed. Deep and heavy. I've replayed that day 100 times, he admitted. Not just what we did, but how it felt. You looked at me like I was real. Like I mattered. You do. He smiled sadly. To you. For now. That landed harder than it should have. I don't want to be someone's secret, I said. Not forever. I know. I didn't come here to be a substitute for what he won't give you. Ethan nodded. You're not. Then what am I? He hesitated, swallowed, looked away. You're the first person in years who made me feel like a man again. Not a husband. Not a title. Just a man. Desirable. Wanted. And is that enough? His eyes glistened. It has to be. Because I can't ask you to wait. I stood. My chest tightened. My fists curled. But I didn't lash out. I deserve more than half of someone, Ethan, I said. I know. Then what now? He stood too. Walked over. Stopped inches away from me. He didn't kiss me. Didn't touch me. Just stared. I don't know what I want, he said. But I know I'm afraid of losing the only real thing I've felt in years. I looked at him. At the man who invited me in to fix a door, and ended up cracking his entire life wide open. I can't fix what's broken between you and Daniel, I said. But I also won't keep helping you pretend you're okay. A beat. Then another. Then he whispered, would it have been easier if we never met? Yes, I said. But a lot more lonely. I turned toward the door. He followed. At the threshold, he reached for me, one last time, and pressed a soft kiss to my cheek. Not lustful. Not desperate. Just real. Thank you, he said. For reminding me I'm still alive. I didn't respond. Just left. The door clicked behind me. This time for good.